Alright, so now we're going to take a look at our distributive property. And with a distributive property, the main thing that you want to keep in mind is this is always your first step when you are simplifying any algebraic expression. And you can always recognize it because you have parentheses where distributing is involved. So if you see parentheses with something in front, say I've got to distribute that first, and then you can simplify the rest of it. So because only the 2 is in front of the parentheses, that's the only thing that gets distributed. So I'm going to go ahead and carry down the 6c, and then I'm going to distribute the 2. Now remember, distributing is just like multiplying. So we're going to do 2 times c, and it's positive, plus 2c, and then a positive 2 times a positive 4 is a positive, so I'm going to say plus 8. And now just look to see if you have any like terms, so you'll remember that like terms have the same variable with the same exponent. So 8c plus 6c, my brain got there ahead of my speaking. 6c plus 2c is 8c, and then that plus 8 just gets carried down. Those are not like terms, so we're done. Alright, this next one looks kind of a little tricky. I mean, well, no, it doesn't look tricky, but it just looks different. You do have parentheses, but if you notice the parentheses don't have something in front for you to distribute. You know, there's nothing in front to distribute. So on this one, just keep in mind that this -3 times q is just a -3q, right? You know that. -9 times p is a -9p. So we're going to work on combining our like terms. Here is a 6p, so I'm looking for any other p's. 6p plus a -9p. Opposite sign, so I subtract. 9 minus 6 is 3. Keep the sign of the bigger number, so it's going to be negative, and the p just stays with it. And then look for any q's. We have a -3q plus a 5q. You do really want to make sure you're focusing on the sign in front of the number. So this 5, because it said plus 5, that's telling us that it is a positive 5. So -3q plus 5q, opposite sign, so we subtract. 5 minus 3 is 2, and keep the sign of the bigger number, which is that 5. So we're going to say plus 2q. And then we'll talk more about this in another lesson, but when you have more than one variable, how do you know what should go first, the p or the q? So you might remember from algebra that we do want those variables alphabetized. So we'll do the p first, then the q. Alright, so we've got a couple more to simplify here. We can see there's some obvious parentheses, so we're going to do that distributing. 3 times 3 is 9. Positive times a positive gives us positive. 3 times, now here's where I see students make the little mistakes, typically because they're rushing through it, not because they don't understand the concept. This m, because of the negative in front of it, is a -m. So you want to really pay attention to those operations or the signs in front of the numbers and variables. A positive 3 times a -1m is going to be a -3m. And then here we're distributing this 2 is positive, so 2 times 1 is a positive 2, so I'm going to say plus 2. And then a positive 2 times a -m is a -2m. And then we look to combine our like terms. This 3 is negative, so -3m and a -2m. You can think about adding those together, -3 plus -2. Same sign, so add them to get 5, but keep the sign, so -5m. And then we have a 9 plus a 2, which gives us 11. So -5m plus 11. Alright, last one here. We've got a fraction in front of a set of parentheses, so we are going to distribute this. But don't worry about the fraction, just take it one step at a time. We're going to multiply this, so first thing I notice is a negative times a negative, so it's going to be positive. And then I'll just write this off on the side. If you have a 3/4 times a 12, I'm going to put it over 1. You can do some cross-reducing. 4 goes into 12 3 times. So over here, I'm just going to go ahead and cross that off and put a 3. And then you're actually just doing the 3 times the 3, and you get a 9. And then the n cubed stays with it. Does that make sense what I just did? So same thing with the next one. -3/4 times, it's a positive 16. So negative times a positive is negative. So I go ahead and write the negative down right away. And then I think about cross-reducing, so 4 goes into 16 4 times, and then I'm going to multiply the 3 times 4 and I get 12, and the n just comes down. And now we have a negative 3/4 times a negative 8. So negative times negative is positive. Really pay attention to those signs. And then same thing, think of it like an 8 over 1, and if I were to put the negative 3/4 next to the negative 8 over 1, that 4 would cross-reduce with the 8. 4 goes into 8 twice, and then I'm multiplying 3 times 2 is 6. And then look for any like terms, and I don't see any because this n is cubed while this n is to the first power. So those are not like terms. So we have our final answer.